From the Langford Center studios at Newberry College, this is Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica. The Newberry College football season came to an end on Saturday afternoon as the Emory and Henry Wasps came to Setzler Field to take on the 3-6 Wolves. The Wasps have been a strong team this season and came to Newberry with an 8-2 record and an eye on the SAC postseason. Meanwhile, the Wolves were looking to rebound from several injuries and other setbacks and hope to grab a fourth win to close out the season on a high note. Paul C. Fisher was at Setzler Field for the season finale and filed this report.
For the last game of the season, the Newberry Wolves hosted the Emory and Henry Wasps. All of the seniors were recognized, from the cheer team, the dance team, the marching band, and the football team. The Wasps received the ball first and were led by quarterback Cole Lambert. After back-to-back incompletions, they punted to the Wolves. When Newberry took the field, Ja'Cory Martin and Jackson Shayed traded snaps at quarterback. For the entirety of the first quarter, both teams traded punts. Early in the second, Ja'Cory Martin rushed for an 8-yard score. A great defensive stance led to a 4th-and-1 situation. The Wasps went for it, but were stopped short. A large connection between Ja'Cory Martin and Rico Dorsey Jr. was called back by a penalty. In the next series, Emory and Henry also had a big pass. That set up a 16-yard touchdown to Cam Abshire. Both teams had sacks of more than 15 yards, and both forced turnovers. Then, both teams threw interceptions back-to-back. This helped put the Wolves in field goal position. Bryce Early set up a 53-yarder, but missed. The Wasps put the ball back with less than a minute left in the half. A 41-yard pass to Cam Peoples set up a 43-yard field goal for Trace Butcher. He also missed. The score was 7-7 at halftime. Emory and Henry then scored 20 unanswered points, beginning with a 5-yard pass for Cam Abshire's second touchdown, and then a 49-yard field goal from Trace Butcher. This made the score 17-7 entering the fourth quarter. The Wasps started with the ball until linebacker Devron Williams blasted through the line and forced a fumble, recovered by Chucky Roach. The Wolves gave it right back when Jackson Shayed's pass was intercepted by Sean Collins. With less than 7 minutes left in the game, Trace Butcher hit a 33-yard field goal. The Wolves took the field and again turned it over. This helped set up a 13-yard pass to Cam Peoples. The final score was 27-7. The Wolves finished with a 3-7 record and look to rest, recruit, and recover over the offseason. Paul C. Fisher, NCTV.
And the season ends for the Wolves with a 27-7 loss to Emory and Henry. Newberry managed to get 7 points on the board in the second quarter, but that was pretty much it. Meanwhile, the Wasps put 20 unanswered points up in the second half and ran away with the game. Emory and Henry finishes their season with a 9-2 record, the team's most wins since going 10-0 in the 1998 season. Newberry, meanwhile, used 3 quarterbacks in the game: Ja'Cory Martin, Keith Desasher, and Jackson Shayed. Martin was responsible for Newberry's only score in the game, while Desasher had a 35-yard run on a double reverse in the third quarter. And although the defense had some big plays in the first half, things fell apart in the second. Newberry finishes the season 3-7 overall and 3-4 in the conference. And, you know, as we wrap up this final season here, this final week of the season, I know it is not the season that the Wolves had wanted. They were coming in with high hopes, new quarterback, new system, the whole bit. And unfortunately, injuries plagued them the entire season. We've talked about it week in and week out. It's very hard to get an offense moving with all the parts and pieces that have to go together when you are down to literally your third and fourth string quarterbacks. And so, unfortunately, the injury bug got to Newberry this year, but we did see the likes of several new players out there that I think are going to have a big impact next year. Wolves Weekly will continue in a moment.
Hey, boss. Okay.
I said I'm fine.
Me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. I'm Paul C. Fisher. If you've ever been walking around campus and seen an event going on, from laser tag to capture the flag to silent disco or trivia or even a game night, then you might have also ran into Miss Sarah Stoffel. Sarah is the director of student activities, involvement, and leadership, and she joins us in the studio today. How are you, Sarah?
I'm great. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing good. We're excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about kind of your background, kind of how you arrived at Newberry, and what has kept you here.
Yeah. So just some real big background. Originally from Maine, moved to Arizona as a kid, went to school in California, and moved here from California. So I've been here for about 5 years in South Carolina. And Erskine College was the reason I came over here initially. I was their campus life coordinator, moved into director, and then shifted to Newberry for a more inclusive mindset, and I really appreciate it here for that. I feel like I can serve all students well. Not that I couldn't there, but I feel as though Newberry's kept me here because it's been a little bit more, we can do what we want for all type of students, and that's why I appreciate Newberry College.
Okay, no, I get that though.
Yeah.
And you said something about being able to serve the students in the best way possible for you.
Yep.
Explain that a little bit now. What does that involve here at Newberry?
Yeah, I always tell people my job is difficult in that I have to work some long hours, but it's just so fun. Like, I cannot complain about my job at all, because my role is essentially putting on different programs for the student body, and also helping facilitate RSOs, or registered student organizations, and their programming, whether that's through the use of Campus Group, which is our online platform, or helping them figure out what might be best coming from their areas, as well as I advise the Student Government Association. So shout out to them. They now have 8 members, which is crazy. And so we'll be seeing a little bit more coming from them as well. So hopefully that will also be serving the student body through their new membership as well. So. Okay,
I see. Dive into that a little bit more for me. What exactly is student government responsible for? Kind of what are the things they do, and where do you envision SGA going here in the next few years?
Yeah, so since I've gotten here, I got here in January 2023, and SGA's kind of been, not rocky, but just kind of either it's working or it's not. And it's just sometimes people don't have that governmental mindset. And so you kind of have a hit or miss with if people want to be involved. So this year we actually have moved a few of those actual positions. We have 2 who are actually representing the first year students. And we now have a upperclassman rep, and I'm trying to remember all the positions off the top of my head. We have our president, VP, secretary, treasurer, and a couple other positions, like I said, working with first years and upperclassmen students specifically. And their job and their role on campus is to essentially advocate for the student body. So whether that is, they don't necessarily program, but whether they are like, hey, the first year students have been needing this, wanting this. Commuters have been needing and wanting this. We're also bringing Senate back. And Senate will become, has not become something yet, but will become a way for all of the organizations, different groups to be represented, have a voice at the table, and hopefully lead to more cohesive, better programming for the student body, and hopefully a few tweaks here or there to what the students need versus maybe what older students have needed and have moved on from. So things like we need to help redo the student lounge that's in LMC. If you didn't know, we have a student lounge in LMC. So we need to potentially help there with some campus improvement projects, and that's one of the goals of SGA this upcoming year.
Wow,
Yep.
okay. So a lot going on. Definitely excited for some of the things to come.
Yep.
Let's shift directions just a little bit, though. I know you are heavily involved in just actually making sure the events happen and actually enabling those. If students on campus have some ideas for maybe an event they want to see or something they would like to show up to, how would they be able to let you know?
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit practical. If you saw myself and Dr. Michael Smith were in the cafeteria last week, I believe, maybe the week before, and we were literally sitting at a table that said, want to win $50? And all people had to do was come up to us and say, hey, here's how the year's gone so far, here's what we'd like to see. And we got some really valuable feedback from that. Specifically things like, just to point out, like the basketball and wrestling teams are here over the break, and they traditionally don't get any programming because everyone else is gone, but there's about 100 students here over the break. And so this year we are going to try and do a couple things for them while they're here, just to make sure that they feel like they're supported, because other teams get to do all this huge crowd work and everything, but their season is during winter. And so it's just is what it is. As well as, you know, our office is always open. We joke that myself and Dr. Michael Smith, our student life portion of student affairs is in the back rooms of OLKC. It's a little sketchy back there, but it's by the gym. And so all you have to do is come back there. We're there most of the day. Sometimes we have class that we're teaching or something like that, but always open for an appointment, always open for someone to just pop in if we're there. Like someone this morning asked if we could do a whole proposition for business students or entrepreneurs on campus who want to maybe host an actual, not career fair, but basically a fair for what they're doing, what they're selling, anything like that. And so I'm talking to them hopefully this week on how we can make that happen next semester. And the only thing about students saying what they want to do is that we want to make sure that, one, we can actually do it, and two, that they have a voice along in that process. Because if you're just like, hey, I just want this to happen, and I'm like, oh, well, let me get into Paul C. Fisher's brain and think this is exactly what Paul would want, but you have no voice in that process, or you're like, I just want you to do it for me, that becomes a little bit of an issue. So students do have to help us along the way. And when we ask for feedback, we always want specific feedback, right? A lot of times we just want things to be better. Paul, what does better mean for you, right? And when we ask for feedback, we genuinely do want to know. And so when you're seeing emails, one, you have to read your emails. When you see emails about that, or when you see the opportunity to start clubs, organizations, collectives will come back up in the spring. When you see those, you have to get involved, because if you're not involved, either you don't know what's going on, or some people have said, I would get involved if I was interested, but I want to know what you're interested in. So you have to tell us. And sometimes it's just sending an email, just popping in, and that's the easiest way to get it across. So.
I see, and I also see just how important that is. Thank you so much. I see how much important you think involvement is, and getting everybody involved in that. Yeah. If you do want to be able to attend some of these events, you can check them on your campus groups app. Wolves Weekly will be back in just a moment.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
NCTV, Newberry.
This week, we're bringing you 2 special reports on Newberry College teams. In our first report, producers Cornelia Rutkowska and Alexa Gambarino and their team take a look at how the Wolves basketball teams have prepared for their new season. And then, Paul C. Fisher brings us a view inside the inaugural season of Newberry women's wrestling team. Here are their reports.
Basketball season has arrived at Newberry College, and both the men's and women's teams are ready after an intense preseason of hard work and preparation. We caught up with the Wolves to learn more about their preseason experiences, their thoughts on the new team dynamics, and what they're looking forward to as the season kicks off.
I think being loud, having positive energy and just lifting each other up, it can be really hard in pre-season and it's really tough on the mind and body, but if we just lift each other up then we'll all be stronger for it.
During this pre-season, we had a whole new coaching staff and we had a lot of new girls come in, so finding my role on the team and proving myself to the coaches and what I'm worth is something that I found not difficult, but I had to prove myself, yeah.
Defense. I will always hang my hat on defense and rebounding. I think those things that you can control, you can always control how hard you go on defense, how hard you go to rebounds. So that's always going to be the biggest thing in our program is defense and rebounding. They'll win you a lot of games if you do it the right way.
The fact that we actually really like each other is really important. It's rare to find in a team of 20, but I think that the fact that we like each other so much will really correlate and you'll see it on court when we play together.
I think looking in the post, having aggressive defense and getting out in transition will be our biggest strengths this year.
Right now we're just working on day by day, not looking too far in the future, staying in the moment, trying to win the day, excellence. Our slogan this year that you'll see on social media, it's A.T.L. It means above the line. Like everything we want to do on or off the court, above the line, character-wise, excellence, being great in any aspect, whether it's academics or on the court or in the community. Like we do a lot of community service as well. So always above the line character, above the line attitude and energy.
The individual is what wins games, right? It's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes. So we do a lot of preseason individual work just to get them ready to play.
This is our best shot at winning a lot of things this year. Most of the team is back from a couple years ago. We got new guys that can do pretty much everything we need them to do. So I'm excited to win some games this year.
Just being able to play, because I sat out all last year, so I'm just excited to play again.
Just being able to play some games and probably the most excited I'm about is getting in front of the Newberry fans. And I had to be on the other side of that for a long time, and so it'll be fun being on the good guys' side this time.
Our biggest strength would be scoring. We have guys that can do a lot of different things and shoot threes and go to the paint, get layups, and shoot mid-range shots. So we're going to be a very versatile team on offense.
Our biggest strength is how much talent we have. We're a very deep team, so we could play multiple players. God forbid someone gets hurt or maybe someone's in foul trouble, we have options that we could play with other people.
Our biggest strength will be probably our veteran presence. We've got a lot of vets. We've got 7 seniors or 7 last year guys, as well as 3 fourth-year juniors. So we've got a lot of vets, a lot of experience.
Men's and women's basketball teams are ready for a successful season. With their strong unity, passion for the game, and exceptional talent, both teams are prepared to make a big impact. This season is shaping out to be one of achievement and excitement for the Wolves. NCTV, Alexa Gamborino.
Newberry College continues to make history. For the first time ever, they introduced their inaugural women's wrestling program, becoming only the 4th college in South Carolina to do so.
It's a real empowerment sport for our female student athletes. I think it breaks down a lot of stereotypes about what a female student athlete is in terms of toughness, competitiveness. There's not as many women's wrestling schools out there as we'd like, but it's growing and we want to be at the forefront of it.
It's huge. I come from a family of immigrants who didn't have the opportunities that I have today. My parents didn't go to school. All they do is work, and they work to give my siblings and I a better future. And they didn't understand why I wanted to wrestle in college. They didn't understand that that was something that could be done. So showing them, showing myself that I'm able to do that, it's just groundbreaking.
You have very few opportunities for Southern states. Southern states are what I call the pigskin cult. Your baseball, your basketball, your football, any sport that involves leather. And a lot of these girls are traveling to the Midwest and the Northeast to be able to get college scholarships or opportunities to wrestle. And now with Newberry having a program, you're 5 hours to Florida, you're 4 hours to Alabama, and all these places that have female wrestlers who are looking for higher education and also a chance to wrestle.
I actually was one of the first teams at my high school as well, and I'm the first girl from my high school to wrestle in college. So I think for me, it's showing that all the girls at my high school, even though we're all so new at it and we're not like the guys who have been wrestling forever, like we get to continue and we get to prove something that like we can take it to the next level too, and it's not just for fun. It doesn't always have to be for fun. Like we can be successful in this sport as well. We get to determine the tone of this team and the energy that we have, like not just even in the 4 years we're here, but like being the first program, we set the pace for how we want this program to be at this school.
And it's even bringing in first-time fans.
Hey, this is great. I mean, this is my first time ever seeing it in general. And so far, like the environment's like crazy electric. I've been hyped and it's my first time.
Show up. Show up and show us that we're wanted, that we're heard. And donate if you can. But yeah, just show up and show us that support and we'll take it from there.
You can find their full season schedule at newberrywolves.com. Paul C. Fisher, NCTV.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Yes. I do my best reaching out to my brothers and sisters in arms.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
Most of us, we're not gonna admit that we need to help.
You don't have someone to kind of help you guide those thoughts. It can be really bad.
It's just a beautiful space when someone can trust you and say, listen, I need help.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica, along with Alexa Gambarino this week. And now let's get to the scoreboard and get you caught up with all the action that took place over the past week. In volleyball, the Wolves needed a couple of crucial conference wins in order to vie for the 8th and final playoff spot. They got the first one last week against Catawba, but then on Friday lost a close match 3-2 against Mars Hill. But on Saturday, the Wolves got back in contention with a 3-1 win against Emory and Henry. With the win, they ended up in a 3-way tie for 8th place. But in going to tiebreakers, UVA Wise ends up with the 8th place playoff spot due to their better overall record. In the end, the Wolves finished with a 9-14 record as their season comes to an end.
In men's basketball, the Wolves turned up with another exhibition game last week against Campbell University in North Carolina, but lost 83-40. The Wolves will return to regular season action in the home opener this Wednesday against Lenoir-Rhyne University. The Wolves entered the game with a 2-0 record.
And for the women, the two games on tap over the past week, the first one against Augusta University on the road. The Wolves held the lead at the end of the first quarter, but a strong push by Augusta the rest of the way secured the victory as they handed the Wolves a 61-34 loss. Then, last Saturday, still on the road, the Wolves dropped another game, this time to Georgia College, by the score of 79-52. The loss leaves the Wolves with a 1-3 record to start the season, but they hope to turn things around with their home opener against LR on Wednesday.
And this week's Newberry College, South Carolina Army National Guard Player of the Week are freshman rugby player Amanda Moore and senior men's basketball player Malaki Stremlow. Moore helped lead the Newberry women's rugby team to wins against UNC Greensboro, L&M Emory and Henry, 17-15, and has been a key player for the team all season. Stremlow averaged 10 points, 8 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and hit 64% of his shots from the field in leading the Wolves to victories over Emmanuel and Southern Wasteland, and has played an important role in helping the Wolves to their first 2-0 start in 7 years.
And 127 Newberry College athletes have been inducted into the school's first class of the South Carolina new chapter of Chi Alpha Sigma. The organization recognizes student athletes from accredited 4-year NCAA, NAIA, USCAA, or NCCAA institutions who excel in the classroom as well as competition. A student athlete must have a minimum cumulative grade point average of 3.5 on a 4.0 scale.
And don't forget that you can find more information on all of Newberry's sports team at newberrywolves.com. There you can find the latest scores, news releases, team schedules, and other information. You can also find out how to get game tickets and team merchandise. All that and more is available wherever you are and whenever you want at newberrywolves.com.
And last weekend was the end of football season, but there's still going to be plenty of action in Newberry Athletics with so many teams playing. And before you know it, the spring sports are going to be ready to go.
There's a lot going on. What are you most looking forward to in the teams that will be playing soon?
Well, you know, Alexa, you brought it up, and we've got basketball, of course. That's the big thing. Those seasons have already started. And, of course, baseball, softball, the big ones coming up in the spring as well. Don't forget lacrosse as well. But the one thing that kind of is interesting is that the men's and women's basketball teams and the baseball team, let's not forget, they are going with new coaches. You know, you as an athlete yourself, who also just got a new coach in your tennis team, how do athletes kind of approach that when you have to have maybe a totally new system with a new coach, new people to deal with, the whole thing? How do you handle that as an athlete?
Sure, it's a little different and difficult at the beginning, but I feel like it's important to get a lot of communication and get well with the team too, in order that everything works. I got to see the basketball women's team Saturday playing against Georgia College. And unfortunately, they haven't started very strong yet. But I know that eventually they're going to get there, since the beginning of the match was a little slow, but definitely they have the game. And after the second quarter, they start getting their game back. So for sure, I'm very excited. They're going to definitely get used to this new coaching style and hopefully have a great season.
Yeah, and a lot of those teams and those sports especially, you know, they play many more games, so a couple of times a week. So maybe you got kind of get that into that rhythm and flow a little bit quicker for the most part. And of course, you can count on Flow Sports to bring you so many of these games. And we at Wolves Weekly will be here to bring you scores and highlights, as well as the stories of the people behind the games.
And with that, this concludes this week's edition of Wolves Weekly. I'm Alexa Gamborino.
And I'm Al Della Chica. Join us next time for more Wolves Weekly.
Keep up to date on the latest in Newberry College athletics with Wolves Weekly, available on Flow Sports and produced by NCTV Newberry.